What's up, barbecue fans? Welcome back to Patio. My name's Jake. Today we're doing another video on the Big Joe. We're doing a spatchcock chicken, but not just any spatchcock chicken. We're doing a little bit of a Spanish flair here. Before we can get into that, let's fire up our Big Joe. So we started up our Big Joe. Also add the umbrella because it is super hot out today, so we need a little bit of shade. Just to give you an idea, you saw when we were starting up the Big Joe, I used 2 of these wax starter cubes from Kamado Joe. My rule of thumb, if I'm going under 250, I just use 1. If I'm going 250 to 350 or 400, I'll use 2. Over 400, I'll use 3, and I just kind of spread them out, light them up, let them go for about 10 minutes, and then close this up. So for today's cook, you saw we're doing indirect. So I've got the 2 heat deflectors down low, and we're gonna use the magic of ceramic cooking here. And really what that is that dome's gonna suck up some temperature. We're gonna fire that back into the meat, and we get 360-degree cooking. So we're not even gonna use some smoke today. We're just gonna use the natural taste of lump, but as I promised, there's gonna be a little bit of a Spanish flair on it. Before we can do that, we've gotta get our bird ready here. This is just an organic air-chilled bird, probably in the neighborhood of about 5 pounds, to give you an idea. So for today's cook, we're gonna spatchcock this. You can do it one of 2 ways. You can use a good chef knife, or you can use some kitchen shears. All depends what you're more comfortable with, but either way, it's the exact same process. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna turn this guy over, and we're looking for our spine here, and we're just gonna hold the tail and cut on either side of it. And we'll do the same thing here, and actually what I'll do is I'll just turn this around. Now keep this, you can freeze those, use those for some chicken stock. We'll clean up the inside of our bird while we're in here. I am going to cut off this fatty part at the back. We don't need that. Same here. Now, at this point, there's a couple different ways you can do this, right? You can take your knife and you can split this straight down and open up your bird. That'll work. Or you can go a little bit further and we can take a knife and we can actually take this bone out, which I'm going to do, and I'll show you why here shortly here, but we're going to go find it. And unfortunately, this is going to be really hard to show you on camera. But I'm going to go down behind it and just kind of cut around it on both sides. And you want to leave as much chicken there as possible, but there's part of it. And that just allows it to lay just a little flatter. Now the other thing we're going to do is, like right now, we could flatten this out, okay? You can also go along here and take out this rib cage, and we can take this piece out here, right? And what this will do is this will allow us to actually cut this into chunks when it's done. It requires a little bit of work. We just follow our knife, or take our blade, follow along the inside of it. And again, not necessary. Be careful. You want to leave the skin intact. And now we're going to go and we're going to keep our blade, and we're going to go right and take the rib cage out with it, just like that. So we're essentially taking this all out as one piece. Same on this side, because you still got this one bone here. So I'm going to come up underneath here, and we'll come up against our rib cage. It's really just working with your knife slowly, taking your time. You're going to want a sharp knife for this, okay? The end result is worth the time being spent right now. And right at the, you're going to cut through where the joint is up here, okay? Where your chicken wing is, and there you've cut out the middle section. And now what happens here we've exposed all this meat. So now we can season in here and get some seasoning on both sides without having to worry about the bone. But also when we're done, we can cut the chicken breast in half, then cut the leg and thigh off, and then you've got 4 easy to cut pieces of chicken. What we're gonna do here for some seasoning is we're gonna use, this is 2 parts fresh pepper, 2 parts salt, 1 part garlic, and 1 part onion powder. Very, very simple. This is just gonna help season the meat. Our flavoring is gonna come from an injection here. So we'll give this a nice coating on the inside. Give it a little pat in. Now the other thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna get out my injector here. This is just a spring-loaded injector gun. But this will allow me to inject a little bit of seasoning on the inside. Now the star of the show is really going to be this Mojo Carrillo here. You can get this in the Spanish aisle in any grocery store. I'm going to inject a little bit of this, but we're also going to use this later on to finish it off with some sauce. But this has got some amazing flavor. A little bit goes a long way. And now the trick here is that wherever you inject, just cover your fingers so we don't squirt ourselves. But we're gonna just inject a little bit everywhere. Now be careful, you don't wanna overdo it, and you don't wanna stab through the skin, right? We're trying to keep the skin intact. Get some into this thigh here. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come into the leg from here so I can keep my skin intact. And just go on either side of the bone. And that'll give us some tremendous flavor on the inside. Now, when we lay this guy over, here's why we went through all this work. Now, once we set this up, when it's done, we can cut here, we can cut here, we can cut here, and be done with it. All right. So let's give this top a season here real quick. There we go. Now, we're dialed in at 350. Just to give you an idea, I'm open 1 inch at the bottom on the vent, and we are just inside the 3rd line. We'll put this guy on. Now that we got this laid out, you can see we can really lay it out flat, and we can season any parts that we exposed. So now what we'll do is we'll let that cook for probably an hour, hour and 15 minutes or so. As we get closer, we're gonna make ourselves a barbecue sauce and finish it off. I'll bring it back a little bit. So it's been about 45, 50 minutes. I was cooking at 275. We're actually done. Our breast is at 265. Our legs are at 275. I'd normally like to pull them off about 160 and 170, 175. You can take your legs up a little higher, but I like to pull off the breast at 170. Allow for some carryover. They came up a little quicker than I expected, so we'll get jumping with our sauce here. We're gonna do a little bit of this sauce here, and this is the Mojo Carrillo again, and this is just a neutral barbecue sauce. It's not overpowering, and we're gonna do almost like a 50-50, probably a 25 on the Mojo Carrillo and 75 on the barbecue sauce. We're thinning out our sauce. Should have probably got a spoon for this. There. There we go. So we're gonna have just a thin sauce, but this is gonna add a lot of flavor to that barbecue sauce. Let me show you how we're looking. If I cooked at a lower temperature, we would have got a little bit more color on it, but it's crispy, okay? You can see how crispy it is. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna brush on this sauce. Give us a nice good coating there. That's only gonna take about 5, maybe 10 minutes to tack up, and then we'll pull it off. It's been 7 minutes. It's looking absolutely delicious. We can pull this guy off. Remember, you gotta support the legs on this one because it's not much is holding it together. As you can see, that's a great looking bird. So I've got this on a rack here. Want to let this cool off, we'll let air circulate around it for about 10 minutes. I'll take it inside and we'll let it cool down and then we'll give it a taste. So it's been 15 minutes. Brother chicken, it's looking phenomenal. Let's get into it now. Now I can show you why we removed the cage and everything. So we can just go like right down the center. Right there. And right there. Now you've got 4 pieces for each guest. Now the one thing that's going to happen here is obviously the sauce is going to take our skin and it's not going to be as crispy as it was, but it's going to be full of flavor. So I'm a breast guy, so we're going to try right here. Try some of that. Nice and juicy. I mean, still, even though I went past 165, you can see the juices running through there. You can really taste that marinade. The Mojo Carrillo pops through nicely in our barbecue sauce. You really got to give this a try. Even if you don't have an injector to inject your chicken, take some barbecue sauce, mix it in. I wouldn't go more than 50-50. You don't want the Mojo Carrillo. It's got a lot of seasoning in it, a lot of spices, great flavor, but it'll overpower your barbecue sauce pretty quickly. So mix that up, paint that on. It's a great way just to change your chicken up and add a punch of flavor that you're not used to. I guarantee you're gonna like it. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe below to the Kamado Joe channel. Give it a thumbs up while you're down there. I'll be back here next month. If you wanna see more of me in the meantime, you can check me out on my Rum Cook channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.